Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will be installing the high clearance fender liners by C4 Fab. The reason why I went with this mod as soon as C4 put it on the shelves is because I was really tired of getting debris up in my wheel well and in my door jamb. As crazy as this may seem, this is actually one of the best mods that is needed when you do a cab mount relocating to fit 35-inch tires or greater. Now let's go over some hardware you're going to have. You're going to have 3 brackets per section. They're all labeled except for these right here. And now you're going to have these connector plates right here and your edge trim. And they also provide a template for your fender flares to be cut. Now I wish I would have had this before I cut mine, but hey, here you go. They're always thinking of something to make your life easier. So let's get to it. So here I'm grabbing the big liner plate and I'm gonna go ahead and install my edge trim, and I've observed that if I cut this flush, it's gonna be hard to stick it into the wheel well perfectly and line everything up. So if you cut it back like a 1/16 or a 2/16 of an inch back, it's gonna go in a lot smoother. So with this liner kit, you're going to get 4 pieces of this edge trim. You're going to get 2 long ones and 2 short ones. The real long one is for the, of course, the big fender liner plate. Once you cut this piece right here, that extra edge trim is going to go for the inside, that little curvature on the opposite side of this fender liner plate. Now this end of this edge trim here, I end up cutting an inch off because it was rubbing too hard when I put it up in my wheel well and it wouldn't fit. So that piece, that's a little too long. But you know, go ahead and play with it. You know, it's always better to have enough than not enough, and you know, you might have to take it out and cut some off. And now it's time for the front liner plate to be edge trimmed. Now see where I got my bracket? See how one side is short, one side is a little bit longer on the tip? Go on this side. This is where you're going to want to put your edge trim, on the left side. Now I will be installing the C4 badge. It comes with 2 1024 screws with 2 flat washers and 2 nylock nuts. You're going to use an 1/8 inch Allen key for the button head screws and a 3/8 wrench or any wrench that will hold those nylock nuts in place. Next, I will be installing the 2 mounting brackets for the fender liner. I'm going to loosen up the top bolt of this door hinge. Now here I'm going to make sure that I have the right bracket for the side I'm going to be working on, D for driver. And it gets placed on the bottom side of that door jamb. Now this little bracket here goes in this center piece, and you're going to have to remove this bolt from this area. Now with the 12mm socket, I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the top side of this hinge bolt. I'm going to slide this bracket inside of the top bolt and let the bottom side rest on the washer of the bolt to the bottom as it tightens this up just snug. Now with the 10mm socket, I'm going to go ahead and remove this center bolt and install that U-shaped bracket, also labeled D. Install and tighten just snug. Now these brackets are not perfect, so you're going to have to mess around with them, loosening, rearranging in order to line them up to the fender liner plate, but eventually you'll get it. It took me close to 10 minutes, but it could take longer, or you might get it on the first time. Now the fender liner plates has these grooves cut into them. Just try to match those grooves with the grooves of your frame. As you can see, the hole on this bracket's not lining up, and this is the reason why I said you want those brackets snug, not tight, until you get them lined up. And eventually you'll get it, but I'm gonna fight it here for several minutes, and eventually I'll get it on. Now it's time to install these two bolts that are 1/4 by 3/4 inch with a 1/4 inch spring washer and a 1/4 inch flat washer. And I'm using a 5/32 Allen for that. Now take the last bracket with the same bolt setup you just used previously, and you're going to go ahead and install this just snug. I'm going to install a 5/16 by 3/4 inch button head bolt with a 5/16 flat washer, and this is going to go through this bracket hole. Now it's going to get a little tight in here, but don't get too frustrated. You're going to have to just roll with the punches and try not to get hit. And on the back side, I'm going to use a 5/16 flange nut and the 5/16 flat washer provided. And I'm going to tighten these up using a 3/16 Allen wrench and a 1/2 inch wrench on the inside. Next, I'm installing the black spacer bracket between the fender liner bracket and the truck frame, making sure the holes line up. And I'm going to be installing this 5/16 by 1.5 inch bolt with a flat washer on one side, and on the other side making sure you use your flat washer with your flange bolt. Now this is going to be a challenge sticking this through in the beginning, but believe me, you'll get through it. And then this is a real tight spot, especially if you're like me where I have a lot of wires and stuff in the way. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up with 2 1/2 inch wrenches. I'm getting ready to install the connector plate, so I'm getting ready my 2 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch button head bolts with the spring and flat washers, and I'm just going to lay them here on my tire for now.